Let's dive a little deeper into two scene-setting presentations. First of all, may I introduce Mr. Anthony Slatyer, who's going to present his thoughts and experiences of the national water leaders on what's needed to support water policy and decision-making at the country level. Mr. Slatyer, I give you the floor.
Thank you very much, Laura. And I've been asked to tell a bit of a different story about the context for this work and the importance of this work than we've just heard. And that is what are national water leaders saying they need to improve the outcomes they can achieve at the national level. So I'm speaking to you on behalf of the Water Policy Group and the University of New South Wales. The University of New South Wales Global Water Institute provides secretariat services for Water Policy Group and contributed directly to this this project with its director, Professor Greg Leslie, a co-author of the report with us. So it has full, if you like, academic rigour attaching to it. And what I'm going to be talking about in these few minutes is the result essentially of a high-level survey which the Water Policy Group has conducted, targeting ministers and the top officials of countries. Next slide, please. This year we conducted for the UN Water Conference the second of these. A couple of years ago we ran the first of these. And these reports are all available on the Water Policy Group website, and for people in the room there's a flyer with an easy, QR code access to them. Altogether 135 countries have participated, or water leaders of 135 countries have participated in this project, so it has serious traction and interest and commitment by these people. And it is an opportunity for ministers to talk about their personal experiences and perspectives as they have lived and breathed these issues at the national level. So what I'll be sharing with you are not the official positions of governments or anything like that. They are the private thoughts of the individuals whose jobs it is to safeguard and improve the welfare of their people, and whose ultimate responsibility it is to deliver SDG 6 outcomes as committed by their governments. And the results, as you'll see, are very affirming of many of the assumptions we've made about what governments need, and in some cases they cause us to question what we do, and that is the nature of this kind of project. I can also acknowledge that His Excellency, the President of the General Assembly with us today, has been very supportive of this project in both signing off, providing a forward for it, which you should read with interest. It's a thoughtful forward, and assisting us in disseminating the project. So thank you. Let's just get into this. So one other thing about this is that it is very representative of the world, of the countries in the report that I'm going to be talking to you about right now. 92 water leaders of 92 countries participated, extremely well spread in terms of economic status, and also I don't have a slide for the regional status, but all regions are well represented. So it's a good snapshot analysis of what people are thinking, what the water leaders are thinking. Next one, please. Would just skip over a couple, I think, because I want to get straight into the science. So keep going. Right, stop there. So the first question we asked them was, what do they see as the main risks? What are keeping them awake at night that are things that are essentially out of their control? And the overwhelming response was it's climate. And you'll see that if you can read that, and on the back of the little handout on your tables, there is a easier to read version of this. The climate, for people in the back row, just grab one from in front of you if you like. Could you pass those down? Pass those down. Yeah, thank you. The climate change was an extremely dominant risk, and related issues of droughts and floods were also highly dominant risks. And water leaders are saying these are essentially things they can't control and are seriously messing with their capacity to achieve results. And as you can study these results to look at other things that they have worried about less, but increasing demand is also a highly important risk for them. Next slide, please, Nicholas. We then asked about challenges, and challenges we defined for them as meaning things that were essentially within the control of government, but were very difficult for them to do for all sorts of reasons. And you will see here that the first of those was getting the infrastructure challenge in their minds. They just couldn't get enough of it or couldn't get it right in the government. And the second was the accessibility and adequacy of data and information for their jobs. So this was a pretty interesting finding because, to be honest, the Water Policy Group had anticipated a lot of political issues like resistance to reforms and public concerns about pricing and all this stuff would have been much bigger challenges for them to manage. But in fact, it was these types of, if you like, concrete challenges that were raised as the highest priorities. Next slide, please. We then, for this particular project, asked, because it was contributing analysis into the UN Water Conference, asked them the question, which I don't think has ever been asked before for any SDG. What can multilateral processes, in your opinion, really do to help you? We asked that question in quite an open way. So just next slide, please. And I'm sorry if the writing here is too small for people watching it remotely, but we gave them 9 different choices of types of multilateral action to think about and to rank in terms of their helpfulness to them to do their job in country. Again, really to our surprise, though it wouldn't have been a surprise to those of you who've been such persistent advocates of the importance of science and information, was that was the single highest ranked value they saw from multilateral process. In the context, they said, and in the way we framed it to them, that it would be scientific information, including data collection and analysis relevant to your region and country. Is that time already up? Several other highly ranked measures were also quite interesting. The value of international processes just in promoting the importance of water, which they can often struggle to do at a national level, and the help that can provide, of sharing case studies and best practice examples, of providing guidance on policy and practice, which is something which Water Policy Group has been advocating for, and principles, common standards, and so forth. Some of the things we care about a lot, broader, stakeholder engagement, all that kind of thing, they weren't seeing that as a particularly important role for multilateralism. So that was interesting. Now let's drill down a bit into the science question. Next, please. First of all, when we started to unpick this a bit, it was an extraordinary majority of national water leaders of countries, the national water leaders are saying that this will help them and this will help them do their jobs. Information about water at a global and regional scale. So this was, first question we asked was, it needs to be relevant for your national or regional policy making, but they're saying that the global and regional scale data is going to help them do their jobs. That was a very interesting result. Next slide, please. We also asked them how confident they were in their own science, and the result there was quite positive. They were saying we actually do get good science at home, good enough science at home, and this was true across all economic categories, I might add, or good enough, good enough science at home. But what they're saying is the international provision is going to really support their efforts more as a highly important thing. Then we asked them, next slide please, what types of scientific services will be most helpful to you. And we gave them a long list of options here, and again, the ranking is interesting, and it confirms a lot of what Professor Talas was saying is the underlying intent of the initiatives we're about to discuss. So first ranked water data and information able to be used at a country scale, as simple as that. But second, forecasts and projection scenarios and assessments and so forth. So those were the three dominant benefits that they saw coming from these services, and I think that is very confirming of the projects that we're about to hear about today. I won't go on with other outcomes, but if you're interested, please go onto the Water Policy Group website and you can see the results about integration and other things that were big issues at the UN Water Conference. I've just focused here on the science questions, but I do hope that provides you some, let's say, positive context about the projects you're about to be discussing and hearing about. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anthony. Yeah,